Let's get some names sorted out. I'd like you, first of all, place your hands over your over your name tag. Okay, right, so that it's invisible. Right, if you haven't got one. Oh, you have one. I can't see it. Wonderful. So now stand up. It's perfect, absolutely perfect. Arrange yourselves alphabetically from A to Z in total silence. You can demonstrate, or you can show, or you can place yourself where you think you might be in the alphabet. Do not speak, do not reveal your name tags. A will be here. No, it's first name, of course. Yeah, first name. Oh my goodness. No hints. Oh, somebody's found a way of doing it. Just show us what you were doing. Just, can everybody look? Do it again. Do it with your whole bodies and one arm. With your whole bodies and one arm, make your name. And stand on top of each other. If you have the same first name, it's Adam, Amy, whatever, then it has to go that way. So we'll just check. All right. Say your first name.
Bobby.
Amanda.
Oh, no.
Broccoli.
Chloe.
Claire.
Emmy.
Eva. Erin with an E.
Jeff.
Jason.
Kate. Katrina.
Costas.
Maggie.
Naomi.
Nikki.
Shakira.
Max.
Paul.
Steak.
Sean.
Theo.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Stop you here. First of all, an invitation. If anybody saw yesterday morning, I shared, would you like to spend a night in a haunted house? I suppose that was a kind of invitation. A discovery. And every time I say something, can you think of a play or a TV series or a film that hangs on an invitation or a discovery?
Do you want us to write it down next to it?
Oh, no, just the headings. You can make a little space between each one. A warning. I suppose if you think of the Frank Miller story, drama, that's a kind of a warning. Somebody is coming back and there may be problems. Again, The Return, I mean, that was based on High Noon, which is a wonderful film, where Frank Miller, they're waiting for him at the depot, or indeed in theatre terms, Eilert Lufborg in Hedda Gabler. He comes back and everything changes. An accusation. I'm thinking in terms of theatre, the Crucible. You have seen them dancing naked in the woods. They must be witches. And then it's one accusation after another. That whole play is a series of accusations until the most innocent people are caught up. A promise. There's a fairy tale coming up, or I promise to give you the first living thing that greets me on my return home. It's Beauty and the Beast is a promise. A task. Kill Claudius, revenge my murder. Task. But it might be a much simpler task. It might be a, I don't know, more of a mantle of the expert type task. Something is hanging over us as a threat. We've heard the rumblings of the volcano. Maybe it's going to erupt. A letter. Well, we had a wonderful letter this morning. They met me in the day of success. Macbeth writing to his wife. A letter is a wonderful and very often used in theatre as a way of affirming the truth of something. How many have we got? Do you want to read them out? Read out which?
So we've got an invitation, a discovery, a warning, a gift, an accusation, a promise, a task, a threat, a letter.
Do you want to add a headline, a newspaper headline? Or it could be a news announcement of some kind. It could be on television. She asked, I'm not sure, I can't remember I saw it or I've read about it, but people were applying to do something, and she asked people to write a letter of application which clearly contained the implication that they were not the right person for the job, which is a wonderful Dorothy way of doing it. It was very hard to do, to just subtly, without saying, well, of course, I'm as mad as a hatter, but I'd like to apply for your, it couldn't be that blatant. But I remember there was one where, I can't even remember what the job was, where somebody said, I really, it would be wonderful for me to get this position because, I've been stuck at home for so long, caring for my elderly mother. So I really hope you'll consider me. And so that clearly, she relies on me completely for everything, but I'd really love to have your job, which will take me to the other ends of the earth or thereabouts. So that kind of subtle hint, which she was fantastic at. So I think you've probably got enough there. I'd like you to attempt to develop this, but just to the tiniest extent. So, for example, a warning might be just a newspaper headline. It might be nothing more than, what you could write on a piece of A4. Just the kind of hint of what. If I said I'm doing a wonderful drama about a discovery, but just how can I describe it? The very smallest amount, £100 to anybody who wants to spend a night in a haunted house. That's about as much as you need. Is that kind of clear-ish? Okay. Do you want to find two people to work with that you don't know very well, or that you haven't met before? Does that be okay? If I can explain myself well, or if you don't quite know what to do, the easiest thing and the simplest thing would just be to say, discuss among yourself which sounds the most interesting possibility. Nobody's going to ask you to tell me, I'm not going to ask you to develop the idea, but so it could be, for example, a headline, not interested in where you're going with it, that's the task of the group. But even at a basic level, if you decide, if 3 people want to vote for promise and 2 people want to vote for invitation, discuss why those ideas appeal to you. So even just getting those choices will help. Okay. What are the implications of the warning for the people who get the warning, but also for, especially if it's associated with discovery? Are you happy to go with warning, discovery? Though I very want, if anybody has actually prepared a headline or a letter or something, that would be wonderful to hear. Okay.
We had as our warning, no monsters may enter, though some may leave.
Wow. No one, do you want to write it on? Okay.
No monsters may enter, though some may leave.
No
Monsters.
monsters. Now that implies. Do you want to take out the word monster?
Sure.
Maybe I'll discover later why I think that shouldn't be there, or why that's almost too much information. Mm-hmm. Some may enter, but not all may leave. See, do you think there's a difference there? If anybody can explain to me why I think I would prefer to leave out monsters, please.
It broadens it right out.
Sorry?
It broadens it right out, the possibility and the potential.
If I take monsters
Yeah.
out. Good. It almost tells us a little too much, I think, of
what's going to happen.
yeah. It like anyway.
It's sort of judgmental, isn't it? Monsters is kind of judgmental.
Exactly. So we're back to the trolls yesterday. That anyway. I love it minus monsters, and I like it quite a lot with monsters, but not just yet. But isn't it wonderful? All round.
And ours was a sign, danger, blue eyes.
Gosh, we're into the blue-eyed monsters again, Goodness.
Which was
Blue
kind of
eyes.
interesting.
That immediately suggests to me the sort of them and us. You know, we don't have blue eyes, and we've got to watch out for those that do. Again, it's not quite open enough in a little bit of a way, because it almost tells us what it's going to be about. Mm. And I think the ideal pretext opens up something that as a teacher, if I was going to go with that, then I kind of sort of know, or not quite what the journey is, but I can slightly predict it. But I think, again, like what you just said about the monsters, that it shuts off.
Well, we didn't write a line, but we had some ideas.
Yeah, we were talking about whether it be television announcement, whether it be a
So
radio.
your choice was?
Well, it was a warning
A
again.
warning again.
A warning again, and we did find it helpful to think lower secondary. Whether that was perhaps but in fact we found it helpful just to think about that, and what kind of pretext would lure them in and create that impact. And we were just talking about girls being told to do something.
Every
I wonder
fairy tale
why.
in the world.
Like stay in.
Yeah, don't go
stay
in.
indoors.
out.
So I don't put it much further than that. But I would like, could I say something about Monster? Not dramatically, in support of what you were saying. Our Home Secretary straight away said about get this monster locked away for the rest of his life in relation to the murder of the young woman recently. And I really, it made me balk at it, immediately. She said monster without any sense of understanding. We know it's a dreadful thing that's happened and we want to stop it from happening again, but there was a whole past to that, wasn't there? There was a whole heritage that we need to look at and interrogate before we start just laying a blanket blame on it.
Ours was a wrapped gift with a note attached that just said, for you, and that was it.
Kind of Pandora's box. A gift. Is it a bomb? Is it a...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because it leaves ambiguity, because the gift isn't necessarily, what's on the surface seems like a gift isn't always a gift. It could be a power play or a threat or an invitation.
Yeah. And this is what Dorothy described as a treasure burden. Whoever heard her use that phrase? Thank you, Jeff. A baby is a burden, but a treasure. And I did once use baby. This kind of baby was a cardigan. And at the end, one of the kids came and asked me and said, "Is that a real baby, miss?" And I said, "What do you think?" She said, "Oh, it's a cardigan baby." Which is, seems, a little bit like what we were hearing about Dorothy's work. That's a gift, isn't it? A gift. Discovery, a gift. Promise, and letter, discovery. Is to try to put some of your wonderful ideas together and see if I can begin something that might take us somewhere. No promises. And I'm trying to keep in mind that what I'll be working on is something that is to do with a promise, which might include a gift or a warning, or a discovery. So it's a bit like those jigsaws we saw this morning. Once upon a time, there was a kingdom far away. You can't hear me. I found the very best way to get the class to be extremely quiet is to be very, very quiet. Oh, sorry. Yes. Took me a long while to discover that the louder I got, the louder the kids got if I did the reverse. And they were interested enough, they had to listen. Gosh, it takes so long to learn these very, very simple facts. Okay, once upon a time, long, long ago, far away, there was a kingdom, a realm, and things were getting a little difficult to all the people who were of significance and importance in that place, because they had heard about something which was worrying them. Every time they looked out of the castle, down the hill, there was a figure standing there. They couldn't see very clearly, but it looked as if the figure might be holding something, but that wasn't clear. So at long last, they decided they would have to find out who this person was, because everybody who approached the castle, envoys from other countries, from other realms, from other kingdoms, had to come up the great drive to the castle. And along the way was this one lone figure standing. Okay. Could I have, maybe we'll have you, and maybe I'll have you, Bradley, am I right? Okay. And let me choose you, and let me see somebody else here who's female. Let me choose you. And so would you stand somewhere in the room where we can see you? You're very apart from each other, and you haven't spoken. You're just standing there. You're standing there. Let's look at them. You're standing there. You're not looking at us. You're not looking at the castle. Oh, okay. You look at this figure. What you see in that stance, in that appearance as he is to us, is that shame to you?
Well, the fact is, kind of facing the wall with his body language is quite punched into himself as if he doesn't want to be seen.
So if I was an important person from another country and I came up the great drive to the castle, especially if my business took me there quite often. This figure was always there. A word or two to describe. Strong.
Stoic.
Stoic.
Determined.
Stern. Is that what you said?
Determined.
Determined. This person.
Yearning.
Yearning. Wonderful word.
Defiant.
Defiance. Although interestingly enough, does this read defiance?
Yes.
It's interesting the eyes are downcast. Penitence.
Hesitance.
Oh,
Use a hesitance.
hesitance. Hesitance. And but we have determination there. That's very interesting. I think that's to do with the feet. I think there's something about, you know, am I firmly rooted? That's firmly rooted.
I dare you.
Yeah. So I would encourage, it's one of the things, if you're doing tableau, which is compulsory, instead you can interrogate it in different ways. And one of the ways that interests me is if the kids see the kind of aesthetic qualities in an image of some kind. Now what do you see? Look at this one first.
Feel as though it's an argument.
An argument, you think?
Or maybe he's looking towards her for strength. She looks quite strong.
Something that hands that we don't have. What do you see here?
Resentment.
Resentment.
Some sort of loss.
Loss.
Guilt.
Guilt. If Dorothy spoke very much about language and the most powerful language and how it mattered. And it seems to me that one of the things, especially if you ask the kids to write in any way, enroll, to find the strongest words, the most meaningful words. Yearning is a fantastic word. We have yearning here, we have determination here. So there's some kind of dynamic. Which is a totally different order, isn't it? Do you want to stand down there? Okay, thank you. Well, all I can say is I'm fed up looking out that window day after day, rain or shine, and that's what I see. Everybody's asking about it. I've said, oh, it's some local eccentric. You've been asked, people have asked you what's happening, why is she standing there? How did you explain it? You need to come up with a good explanation because I'd really like to know. Well, I mean, you know, some of you are the king's most important advisors, and I'm just looking for some advice about what I say. You know, they have local people have been coming up to me as well as all the important people who come here, and they've been saying, "Who is she?
There are some rumors.
Yeah.
There were what?
Rumors.
Do you want to say a bit more about that?
Well, it's about, I heard, I'm not sure if it's the right thing, I heard that it's a kind of person who lost everything in life, and she considered some people from our kingdom responsible for that.
It's what people do, isn't it? They blame the people in charge. Well, we're in charge because we were put here. The king chose us. We're his most significant supporters and advisors. And why should somebody like this disturb us, disturb our nights? Has anybody attempted to speak to her, or has anybody gone and accosted her and told her to clear off?
Well, we are waiting on our orders.
Has nobody any initiative in this place?
Well, I heard she's cursed. I ain't going near her. I won't go near her. I heard she's cursed.
Did she what?
Cursed.
Cursed. She's certainly putting a good old curse on us.
Take her out because she's scaring people,
She is.
citizens of
People
the
are beginning
kingdom.
to get afraid. It's true.
And they think of curses and this kind of rumors and.
Why are you so troubled? Why are you so troubled?
She can't just stand there day after day, week after week,
She means
all
no.
through the winter.
You want to care for her.
Someone is giving her food.
Tell me more about that.
It was yesterday. I saw someone going over, and then she was eating.
You know, people saw her moving when people are not looking.
I'm sure she does. She can't stay there night and day. She looks as if she's there night and day, but you know, it's in the daytime that bothers me when people. She's just she's just so visible.
And some people in the village know her. They know who she is. We don't know her.
Right. What they think, the promise and the curse. Well, you can see I'm trying to tease things out very rapidly. That would in fact take much longer. To claim her rightful place or to claim something back. Which do you think would take us? Both are terrific possibilities. Finally, one very brave advisor. The king was consulted, and I'm skipping through this, I'm telling you about it rather than doing it. You understand that these would be episodes. Think of the nice episode you might have in by finding the curse. Think of the lovely, parchment or something, where you would find the evidence of the fact that this is the child, illegitimate daughter of the king, or the fact, the other possibility, which is also very interesting, that she's come to claim something. Just at the moment when the whole castle is preparing for the wedding of the king's only daughter. You know, and we don't have time for this nonsense, her standing out there. So the bride, it's the bride, her daughter she's come to reclaim. You see what I'm saying? That she's come to reclaim her own child. Does that make sense? Am I keeping up with this? With the unfolding story? Invited to the wedding. Would that happen? Would you be invited to the wedding? No, I don't think she would be. She has to meet her daughter. Seems to me that she needs to do that. narration doesn't work for me very well, except as recapitulation, like I just did, just to remind us of where we've got to. So if I need a moment where the mother meets her daughter, all right, get in twos. In twos, your mother and daughter, each of you. And maybe the daughter, just okay. If you sit down with this mother over here. A, you're the mother, and B, you're the daughter. And this happened because the daughter, one of her last days of freedom, before her wedding, he slips away from the castle and out down the road. She's never been inside the castle before, but she disguises herself in the cloak of one of the servants. And she just wanted to look at the home that she would be leaving very soon. Down the road, she encounters her mother. Now, the mother knows who she is. She doesn't. I don't know what she's been told about her mother or who her mother was. That'll emerge. So each encounter will probably be different. But just take it as slowly as you like. Just think what you might first say to each other. Maybe the daughter has seen her from the window all that time. She might be the person who'd want to know why she was there, or she might hardly notice it. She might be more inclined to look back at the life she's leaving. Okay, just see what happens.
I'll speak first.
There are important things here that I need, and I need them now, and I want them back.
I haven't got time for this. I want you to come back.
Everybody here, just remember the way we're standing. Just turn around for a moment and look at these people here. Do you want to get just briefly out of the way? You too? Yeah. Can you see where they were? That's interesting. There's a kind of a... It's the significance of this gesture is intriguing. There's an awareness here, isn't there? A kind of a...
Figures in a social landscape.
And then the final one. This is very, very intriguing.
I took the one back there.
What did we do?
In that back corner, which for me was like time lost. I just saw time lost and just, yeah.
Let me pass. Let me pass. That was a piece of dance, almost. Do you want to run that little movement through again? It was offering you some responsibility for dealing with this figure, or there were the figures, which ended up being significant in a slightly unexpected way through to the end, the beginning, the end, you know, the echoes of each other. The meeting, the talking, the hardest thing to do, that's something I would do not as rapidly as I did it here. That needs a commitment to the roles. It needs an understanding of them. At the moment, those roles or perspectives or whatever are just sketched in. They're really just approximations. They haven't got quite to the place where what comes out is necessarily with young people going to be as powerful as what you did. Which, and interestingly, it was perhaps the non-verbal part that was more powerful, which is reasonable given the speed at which I was attempting to work. I would have loved to have time to have heard from the townspeople. What kind of a regime is this? Clearly, all is not well. That to me would be an important part of this tale. The promise, what has she been promised? We don't know what promise the king made to her. Is he troubled by dreams in which he makes those promises? Or which we need to get a little bit inside the head of the person who has stolen a child, in effect, and not kept up with the promises that have been made. And that to me would be so that you go from inside the castle and inside somebody's head to the outside, the villagers, the townsfolk, and their perspectives on it. The wedding, again, that's the kind of ritual of that. I didn't get any sense from what we saw that she was going to go with her mother. Did anybody get that impression? Because we have the curse to contend with. And the curse, which we didn't ever quite learn what the curse was, but we don't need to know because we can see it worked out in the destruction or the fall of the kingdom, whether through protest or uprisings among people who realize what's going on, or through the fact that the line ceases. And what I would like to do with the young people would be the last will and testament, possibly, of the king. She's taken to the scaffold, possibly, I don't know. But a better way would be an interview by the daughter when she's now maybe 70 years old, and she looks back, she's being interviewed in what's almost the modern world, and she's asked what her earliest memories are, what her mother was like. It's always nice to turn the screw, on. Tell me all about the mother you never had, that you rejected, as you discovered later that the woman who was waiting for you was in fact your mother, who turned her back on her. So, or that could be a diary entry, it could be a letter, a letter from you, from the princess. But I think writing or poetry, or even extending the dance, the whole meeting and maybe getting together and then parting. So you think of all your possibilities as a theatre person and a teacher, and of course taking into account the kind of kids you work with, what would be acceptable, what would be interesting. Could this whole fairy tale thing be taken out, and could it become about something more contemporary? Could you transform it into a, if you like, a more contemporary story? Kind of oppression going on and mysterious undercurrents. So those might be your contemporary references. So anyway, I should stop and ask you for your questions, responses, concerns.
I was thinking about the message. I was thinking what you were saying about opportunities for writing, or the messages that appeared at her feet.
Oh, lovely.
From the townspeople, from the women in the town. Like, what did she represent? What was going on in terms of their what she'd come to represent for them, and the messages they left, or the gifts, that we were talking.
That into a more political consideration, because I think that's also at the heart of this. It may seem a bit like a fairy tale, but you want to get there at some point. What sorts of oppression are going on in the story? The mother, the townsfolk, the daughter. Those are there to be opened up, not immediately. I mean, if this was 2 hours, in a class, how long typically is that? So you might think of your work in segments so that it can be picked up at various points.
Where we started with the figure outside, but it's such a, to do nothing is quite a threat. And there's there's a few plays, aren't there, Pinter plays, where the tramp turns up at the garden every day and stands there every day, and they can't cope. The old couple inside the house can't cope with it, and they speculate and they think. It's a great lure, that, isn't it? And the figure who just looks and doesn't actually do anything, but the inside, with the speculation and the talk about it, it's
interesting, the ghost in Hamlet won't speak to the soldiers, won't speak to Horatio. They all, try to get it to speak. It will only speak to the right person. Who's the right person? And maybe there'll be time to, buttonhole me and say, what were you thinking? And the answer is as fast as I could. But that's drama, So I think if I were to do this again, I would know much more clearly the kind of journey it might take. And so typically if I do something, if I find, a haunted house or whatever, and it seems to work, the second time I do it, I will know what the material contains. The first time you do it, you don't actually know. I don't quite know what the material we've been looking at here contains. But the second time, I sort of know. The third time, I know too much what it contains, and I tend to expect it all to unroll like the previous time. So then that's the moment when you need to let it go and let somebody find other ways to work with it. In terms of the list, I think each of those can take you somewhere. But it needs, you need to think of the implications for past, present, future, for perspectives, for engagement of the group, and then see what of the frames or strategies or conventions or whatever you want to call them, or what theatre can offer you in terms of what theatre does, which is, again, there are theatre things that crop up all the time that you can look to include in your, I don't say armoury, or because that sounds a bit violent, but in your possibilities for extending a piece of work so that it actually means something. So, stop. the next thing. You're already late, probably. And many, many thanks to you for coming along with me on a bit of the journey, but a small bit of the journey. Thank you.